wants to be a millionaire.
Hello and welcome to Long Live Hooky Street, the podcast where we rewatch and discuss every episode of Britain's most beloved TV comedy, Only Fools and Horses. I'm Heather and I'm joined from Denver, Colorado by my co-host and sister Jenny. Say hello, dude.
Hello.
Today we are discussing Series 5, Episode 3, The Longest Night. So grab a pair of binoculars, 12 packs of strepsils and a roof rack for a cortina and let's get started.
This episode aired on the BBC at 8:35 p.m. on Sunday, September 14th, 1986. Viewing figures for this episode were all the way up to 16.7 million, just slightly below To Hull and Back. If anyone needs a reminder, the episode with the highest viewing figures so far was Sleeping Dogs Lie with 18.7 million. The UK number one song at this time was Don't Leave Me This Way by the Communards. And Aliens, the sequel to the 1979 movie Alien, was the number one UK box office movie at the time of airing. A few little interesting episode facts. We said it at the time, and we'll say it one last time. This episode is one of the only three where we do not see the flat at Nelson Mandela House. In this particular episode, of course, we do not actually leave the supermarket. The superstore used for this episode is now a Matalan, but at the time it was a co-op called Leo's on High Road in Leytonstone. Since back then stores were often closed on Sundays, they used Sunday to film, and they populated the store with extras. Filming outside the store was now problematic due to the popularity of the show. A blessing and a curse. Another promotional photo shoot was done during the filming of this episode, which is why you will probably recognise lots of the shots of the Trotters with the shopping trolleys outside the store and those particular costumes that they wore in this episode. John Sullivan's idea for this story came, once again, from a real-life inspiration. He had a friend who told him about a man who was in prison. He had gotten into the manager's office by deliberately getting caught shoplifting. Then he pulled a gun on them and demanded they open the safe. He definitely knew that he didn't want there to be a real gun or a true threat in this episode, so he turned it into a lighter scam story that ultimately gets undone by one of Del's hooky items. And the legendary Shadow was played by Vass Blackwood, who unfortunately only appears this one time, despite having a history with Del's character. Certainly one of the most memorable guest stars in the history of Only Fools and Horses. And the following quote is from the lovely Jubbly 40th anniversary book. Perhaps thanks to the theatrical energy, expert direction, and a truly magnificent script, the proceedings unfold effortlessly, making The Longest Night a truly unforgettable 30 minutes. And as usual, I'll have more trivia to scatter throughout the episode. Shall we move on to the episode rankings, dude?
Yes, let's do it. So our regular listeners will know by now. Each week we reveal and compare our rankings for the episode, and prior to recording the entire podcast, we independently ranked all 64 episodes. If you didn't already know all that, then you are not yet one of our regular punters, and we would love for you to subscribe to the podcast. We release a new episode every Saturday.
Yes, thank you. And please also do give us a like, subscribe, and tell your mates. We really do need support to continue putting in all the time that we have been on this podcast. Okay, do you want to guess mine?
Okay, I'm going to guess that yours is in the 20s.
In the 20s?
Is that correct?
You mean lower than 20? No.
In the 20s, I was going to say. So like 20-something.
No, it's higher.
Oh, I'm wrong. Oh, wow. So it's in the tens, or the teens.
It's in the teens, yeah. All right, so I'm going to guess yours is in the 20s then.
Okay, why don't you tell me what yours is?
Mine is 18.
Okay, 18. That's pretty high, yeah. And
Okay.
Why is that? Why have you put it as 18?
I mean, sometimes I feel like it should be higher than this. Like, this episode was huge for me when I was a kid. I absolutely loved it. We had it on recorded off the TV. Do you remember?
Yeah.
It's one of our earlies, and we loved it. We absolutely were obsessed with it. So yeah, it's really well written. It's very clever. It's funny. It's fast paced. It's engaging. I love all the extras. I love it. I love this episode. There's not anything negative I can really say about it.
Okay, cool. Well, mine ranking is quite a bit lower than yours. Mine is 32.
What? Oh my God, so low.
I see. Now, this episode for me, I agree with you, everything you just said about it being like a childhood favorite for me, this one. But actually, when I rewatched it as an adult, I find that it hasn't actually got as many like one-liners in it as a lot of the others have that I really like. So there's a lot of things in this that I think are funny, but I think that I really appreciate like one-liners that really stand out. For me, there are some very memorable moments in this episode. Of course there are, which we'll talk about in the episode breakdown. And as you said, the guest star is fantastic. But I think the thing for me that is missing from this episode now, as I'm watching it as I'm older, is I actually do miss the Flat and the Nag's Head and the other extras that we get, like the Boise's, the other cast members, the Boise, the Trigger, you know, Denzel and stuff. I like episodes more that tend to have those people in them, I guess, at this point. So I think that's why it's not low. I mean, like I said, I do love the episode, but maybe just not as much as some others now that I'm a bit older. If I had been doing my rankings when I was 10, this episode would have been in the top 10.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely important to remember, that sometimes you favour, like I think we talked about The Miracle of Peckham. Like, I love it so much because I remember it from being a kid, but I know some people don't like it as much. So, yeah, when you saw it and what you thought of it at the time is definitely a factor to where you might place it in the rankings. But for IMDb, it's number 22. So,
oh, right in the middle of us. Well, no, not really.
Closer to mine, yeah.
Yeah, a bit close to yours. Four higher than yours.
Yeah, but yeah,
or lower than yours.
I know his fans love it, and I'm sure Vast Blackwood is one of the reasons.
Yeah, no, it's as you say, it's a great episode, and actually, the office manager and the store manager and the detective are also very funny as well.
So yeah, I mean, I think depending on what you think of episodes that are out of the normal, like a lot of people don't like Cash and Curry for that reason or whatever, or it doesn't feel like Only Fools and Horses, people will say sometimes about certain episodes. But you got to remember that some of everybody's favorites, like To Hell and Back, doesn't really feel like Only Fools and Horses in lots of ways.
No, that's true, because it was the first one without the laugh track.
There's so many episodes that some people say the reason that they don't like it is because it doesn't feel like the show. But I know from me, and I know we haven't got as far as some of the later episodes yet that people tend to dislike for that reason, but that doesn't stop me loving an episode because it'll be a lot of the time nostalgia and stuff.
Yeah, I think this episode works really well. If you were trying to introduce someone to Only Fools and Horses, this would be a good episode to show them because it is a standalone story. You don't need to know about the backstory of anything really to appreciate this episode, which is probably why I liked it as a kid, because I didn't probably understand a lot of the relationships and things between people and the storyline, and the fact that Grandad used to be a character, and I maybe didn't get a lot of the stories of things from the past and talking about their dad and all that kind of stuff. This is just a standalone episode where you don't really need to know any of the characters before you watch it to appreciate how funny it is and that it's really good. I agree.
Yeah, I agree. And I think because Lennox is so memorable, it keeps the pace quite fast. It's like It doesn't drag. I mean, it's always easy when you're in one room for it to get boring and drag, but it doesn't.
Yeah,
so.
Agree. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think they use the setting very, very well. And yeah, they make it interesting even though it's all set mainly in one location.
But yeah, having said all that, do you want to go ahead and start the episode breakdown?
So we begin in a supermarket. What a surprise. So the whole thing is set in the supermarket, but we actually begin specifically at the checkout. So it's an unfamiliar location. We've never seen this location before, and we never see it again in Only Fools and Horses. We do see another supermarket when we go to Mother Nature's Son. In Mother Nature's Son, what's it called?
I was going to say, I thought you were going to name the supermarket, and I can't remember. I know, but I can't remember what the supermarket is called. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. There's a good quiz question for us later. So yeah, we do go to another supermarket, but that's really the only time that we're in another supermarket, I think, unless someone can name another one. So the Trotters are doing a food shop, and it comes to
£29.48.
Which, I've got to say, is a bargain for a weekly food shop. I'd never get a food shop for that in Hong Kong.
Well, this is the 80s, dude. Do you want to know how much that was in pounds in today's money? So that would be £90.14.
I still reckon that's quite good for a weekly food shop for 3 people.
That's actually quite cheap for now, yes. But we don't know how many days food that is. So, yeah. But yes,
it looks like a decent amount. They've got a box and 2 huge bags, and then Dell's got that bread.
Yeah. And he's buying a brand stuff because I noticed Cadbury's flake cakes. So
I did not notice that.
And cornflakes, brand Kellogg's cornflakes. But yeah, I mean, I do remember when I was a kid, I thought that's so much money. So I don't know how much we used to spend, but I remember thinking, oh my God, £29.
The problem is that no one can ever hear that amount now without hearing £29.48.
I know.
It's like etched in your mind, isn't it? Every time you hear £29.
Right.
Anyway, the checkout girl, who we saw in Watching the Girls Go By, which was mentioned by
Catherine
Jenny,
Clark,
she looks fed up.
Yeah.
Which is understandable because anyone who's worked in a supermarket, I've never worked in a supermarket, but I have worked on a till in a greengrocer's, so I can vouch for her.
Oh, it's
feeling
pretty
so miserable.
similar, yeah, I would think.
Yeah, it's just the most monotonous work, isn't it, really? Dell decides to make a joke out of the situation.
Did you sue him?
Who?
The charm school.
And actually, her reaction to that question is one of my favourite parts because she rolls her eyes and it's just brilliant. It's so British, that reaction. I just can't. So they leave and we find out that Albert's hit Rodney in the leg with the shopping trolley. So another moment of bickering between the two of them. We always have bickering between Rodney and Albert, and Rodney and Grandad previously. The Trotters are approached by
Tom,
and we, as the audience, don't know who he is yet, but he asks them to go into the manager's office. And Dell is about to protest, but Rodney spots a poster that states there will be a £1,000 prize for their millionth customer. Tom asks,
"Can I help you with any of the shopping?"
At which point Dell gives him the only thing that he is carrying, which is the large baguette. And Rodney and Albert carry boxes and bags and have no help at all. So I just love the fact that Dell's blatantly selfish and thoughtless in this sort of situation. It's just part of his character. So again, very in keeping with the character, which I always love. Any notes on that scene?
Nothing that we haven't mentioned other than Tom is played by John Barden, who has a huge acting history, most famous for playing Jim Branning in over 1,000 episodes of EastEnders.
Yeah.
So he's actually, this is an interesting one, and you've got to think about this. He's credited on IMDb as playing two different parts in Only Fools and Horses. One as Tom, and then the second, a policeman in Miami Twice.
What?
I'm so confused about this.
I don't even remember there being any policemen
nor
in
do
Miami
I.
Twice.
So we'll have to circle back to
Is
this.
that like a cut version or something that we don't know about?
Well, yeah, first of all, I didn't write this down in my notes, but I think it's the first part of Miami Twice, because they didn't fly the guy to Miami to be a policeman because all the Americans...
Yeah, and they don't
policemen
get
in it.
greeted by police when they come back, which
So-
is the only time they would.
Yeah, like what policeman was in Miami Twice? So yeah, maybe it's a cut, maybe it's a mistake, because IMDb isn't always accurate. So,
True.
but I'm just letting you know it's on there and it's on its credits, because when I saw it, I was like, what? 2 episodes?
So now we go to the manager's office. So this is where they were being taken, and we're introduced to D.A. Peterson. So he's only referred to as Peterson, Mr. Peterson. We don't ever find out his first name, I don't think, throughout this episode.
No, I don't
He's
think
just
so.
manager or Mr. Peterson. So
Right.
I refer to him as the manager throughout all of this episode breakdown for reference. And he's on the phone to his wife.
But Valerie, darling, listen to me for a moment. Why do you want to buy a brand new car?
This is important to set up the story that he's got a wife who's spending money. We'll come back to it later. The Trotters are led to the office by Tom, and Rodney says to Albert,
Look, I'm sorry I snapped at you back there, but I'm trying to give up smoking.
It's all right, son.
another thing that is very important to the plot of this episode, to a key moment in the episode. And they argue over who could be the millionth customer. And Tom is standing right next to them, so he definitely overheard this conversation, and he doesn't correct them that they're not the millionth customers. So he obviously doesn't care that they think this. He's probably glad that they do. But yeah, it's a bit ridiculous that he's literally standing next to them when they have this conversation. So I'm surprised he doesn't chime in and say, "You're not the millionth customers." But anyway, they have some playful banter with the manager when they enter the office, and it's revealed...
I stopped these gentlemen as they were leaving the store, sir, because I have reason to believe they have some stolen items in their possession.
Now, Rodney makes a perfectly reasonable request here for them to ask the girl at the checkout
Right.
if she remembers them and that they paid for it. And I'm not sure why the Trotters didn't push for that more, because that actually would have solved the whole problem. I know that they bring up like the receipt and stuff later. Yeah. So yeah, sorry. Do you want to say something about that?
No, not really. Nothing more than you just said. Yeah, like I remember when I was a kid, the frustration that they didn't just go and ask her and be like, look, these guys that were just in here 2 minutes ago that made fun of you. But, you know, obviously now we know the reason that they were in the office, so they can't do that.
I know.
Why didn't they have a bill either? Like, was that deliberate? Did they tell Sheila not to give them a bill? Because they had the bill.
Yeah,
That
I did.
Yeah.
I mentioned that later on. Yeah, about the bill and the way that worked out too. Yeah. So, but I just like if this were a real situation, they definitely would have pushed more to be like, no, go and get her and ask her. We just made a joke about the fact that she doesn't smile. She'll definitely remember us. Like, you would push that, especially the fact that they were kept in there for hours. So, but obviously for the plot, they couldn't do that. But yes.
the scene ends with the clock saying it's 3:24, so that's 2.5 hours until it cuts back to the supermarket. So they sat there for 2.5 hours just in the office without pushing to go down and say, hey, can we leave? Like, because you could just ask this woman. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I can't think of a better way to have done it, but yeah, that it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's for the plot they can't push it, but yes, the fact that Rodney says it doesn't help because it is actually a perfectly reasonable solution to get past this issue. So the Trotters are angry, obviously, and they try to leave, but the manager threatens them with security. And honestly, a lot of this scene, it's not that the lines are funny. A lot of it is the mannerisms and the actions of Del in particular. He's got this great sort of like pointing at his watch, and then goes to like open the door and jumps back from the handle when he says he's going to call security. There's just some really great physical comedy here from all of them, which comes to light again in a moment. So Del says,
Look, we paid for all these goods and we've got a bill to prove it.
Yes, and we've got a bill to prove
That's
it.
right, show the bill, Rodney.
What?
The bill.
I ain't got it.
Well, of course you must. One of us must have.
Well, don't look at me, I never even saw it.
Yes, you did, because I paid for it. Don't you remember?
When she took it out of the till.
All right, actually, we haven't got a bill.
What a shame.
so as you said, what if they had the bill? I mean, luckily for the manager, they couldn't produce one, but they easily could have had one, as you said, unless the checkout girl was in on it. I mean, the checkout girl is the same one who pointed out Lennox to him as well. So maybe she is in on it. That is possible, because she's the one that didn't give the Trotters the bill, and he watched them go to her counter.
Yeah.
So maybe that was a setup thing. And then later she, in front of everyone, said like, Mr. Clark, and like highlighted that Lennox was playing up. So maybe it was her that was in on it. It would make sense because she's highlighting both.
And the fact that she is friends with Mickey Pierce, so she's probably got like a devious streak. And Tom goes up to her deliberately. He's like, right, Sheila. Like, so maybe they offered Sheila a little bit of money to not give the bill to the Trotters.
That would make sense to the plot if it was. I mean, that's never sort of confirmed in the plot, but that would make sense.
Well, that's because it's
as to why they didn't
hairs.
have the bill. We love to split hairs. So the manager leaves the Trotters to discuss the matter privately while he opens up the safe in front of them. A very risky thing to do if he really believes they're thieves. He's actually got 3 men in the office with him, and he goes over to the safe and opens it in front of them. I mean, if they were dangerous thieves, like they're claiming that, well, not dangerous, but they're thieves, that's a bit of a foolish thing to do.
Yeah.
And actually, the fact that he doesn't know them is a foolish thing to do, whether they're thieves or not. You don't know how that could end up. I mean, they could easily overpower you. It's just one of you and 3 of them.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, in my experience in retail, me and you. Well, the safe should be hidden as well. It shouldn't just be on the wall like that. I don't know how common that is in a big supermarket, but in small shops, they hide the saves.
Well, if they've got the saves, if they've got that much money in it, it shouldn't be that obvious on the wall. Yeah. Something that everyone would know is there. That is a bit ridiculous. Right. So again, another slightly glaring plot hole there, but I mean, it doesn't matter.
It's not really a plot hole. It's just I don't know how accurate. Like maybe they based this set on a real supermarket office, but have you ever worked anywhere where the offices are this big? I haven't. It's always like a little hole in the wall office. So this is obviously just because the whole scene had to take place in this office. They needed the safe to be in a place where the audience could see it. So yeah, it's definitely not going to be realistic. So we should probably not split hairs.
I'd imagine most of the time the safe is not in the office. It's usually like a separate thing in the wall.
I mean, they are in the office.
I would have thought.
And usually they are in the office, but I don't even think now that it's done quite this way. Well, this is the other thing about the 60 grand, like that we can maybe address later, but we could talk about it now. You wouldn't leave 60 grand overnight in a safe.
No.
Because they'd take it to the bank periodically throughout the day. You would never keep that much cash in one place. So, but either way, it doesn't matter because it's still very important for the plot.
Yes. And we're splitting hairs. Yeah. So Del worries about the questions the police might ask them when they're having their private chat.
But what happens if the old Bill starts asking questions about all my gear, right, and Rodney's watch?
Yeah, I suppose you're right. You mean my watch is knocked off?
So another knocked off watch solved by Del. So we've already had, what was it? We had them in Long Legs of the Law. We had them into Hull and Back.
Yeah.
We got them again here. So everyone needs to be on Trotter watch. See what I did there? They need to see how many times Del is selling dodgy watches and dodgy phones. These are the 2 we're keeping tabs on now. So Del suggests,
just keep stum. We'll be out of here in 10 minutes flat, all right?
And when I was a kid, I thought, because of this scene, that keeping stum meant to stand and wiggle your head.
Yeah.
Like, I actually thought that's what keeping stum meant, because all 3 of them did the exact same thing when Del said keep stum. So I still, to this day, I know it means keep quiet, but I didn't think it meant like stand there with a stupid look on your face and wiggle your head.
They're all like giving him kind of a, oh, look, we're not talking kind of look. Yeah.
Yeah.
That goes
funny.
hand in hand with what you said, that this whole interaction is very physical. I always remember that bit where Del just points at his wrists and like looks at his watch and then goes right before he goes, come on, let's leave.
Yeah, that bit, like pointing at the manager and pointing at the watch and being like, you, like
It's
he's
a
going to
very
say something but he
physical
doesn't.
episode, for this kind of comedy, and I loved that so much when I was a kid. I agree, and I loved
Yeah, exactly. I think
always
that's why it really was. Yeah,
I
when
laughed
I was a kid.
so much at the keep stum faces that they did as well.
Now you just mentioned that the clock said 3:25. Is that what you said?
Oh yeah, I wrote 3:24. I don't know how I got it. That
I
accurate.
read it as 4:50.
That's so weird.
Yeah, that is weird. I don't know if I'm wrong or you're wrong or both of us are wrong or both of us. Well, we can't both be right. So yeah, I don't know if someone else can tell us if we're wrong about that. But I thought it was 4:50 because it changes to 6 p.m. When Lennox comes in, which makes sense. So I thought they'd been kept there for like an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh, I think I know why I wrote this, because it's what it says in the script.
Oh.
Yeah, because originally I did look at the clock and I misread the time that Lennox arrived. I read it as 6:30 because of the second hand was pointing down, and I was like,
yeah,
it's
it's really confusing, that clock, because it's got a really long minute hand.
Yeah.
That's why it's confusing.
So I did actually, so we're like a bad generation here because we were raised with these kinds of clocks, but now we hardly ever have to read them. I think I took 3:24 from the script because I wouldn't have been able to see 4 otherwise. It says in the script that the clock shows 3:24, and then it says in the script the time is now just after 6 p.m. on the next
That's
scene.
correct. In the I'm pretty sure it's 4:50, but again, feel free to tell me if I'm wrong about that.
Yeah.
Anyone else who watches the episode. So yeah, it's just past 6 p.m. when the next scene starts.
Yeah.
So this indicating that Del's plan has not worked, I said, because he said we'll be out of here in 10 minutes flat.
Yeah.
And it's an hour and 10 minutes later.
So I just wrote that Mr. Peterson was played by Max Harvey, who doesn't have a very many credits on IMDb, just a lot of small credits, but he was in 4 episodes of Doctor Who in 1983, so that would have been a couple of years before this.
I had a line in a Doctor Who once.
A lot of people were in Doctor Who, but I mean, there are like so many episodes of Doctor Who, so it totally makes sense that most people who are in the British acting scene would have been in Doctor Who at least at one point.
It's like a lot of people in British acting have been in a soap
Yeah.
at some point as well, like one of the soaps.
Yeah, they would have been in
yeah.
Brookside, Holby City, whatever. So yeah. And then I just wrote here, entrecote rioja it's a steak cooked in or served with red wine. I never knew what it was.
Okay. I didn't know what that is either.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of that. I thought it was a type of pasta, so that does me. I might as well be like Del.
I don't think I had any
Oh,
idea.
Lennox, sorry. Lennox is the one who gets it mistaken what it is.
Sorry, it's weird there.
We go to the supermarket again, but it's later in the day. As I said, it's 6 p.m. now, and we're introduced to Lennox in the supermarket. And this entire sequence of polite stealing is memorable and well executed. So we're starting with him saying,
Hello there. How are you? I'm very well, thank you. Nice weather for this time of year, isn't it? Yes, it is, yes. Something shut it
So he helps an old lady take a can from the top of the shelf, and then he steals 2 for himself. He steals salad cream like a cartoon villain.
Yeah, I love that.
The way that he does that. That, again, so memorable. When I was a kid, I absolutely adored that bit. The face of the guy behind him when he picks up the beer can and drinks it looks so real, that reaction. That extra is an amazing actor. He genuinely looked like he was just shopping in the store and then he noticed that, because that face he pulls is exactly what someone would do really if they saw that.
I always thought this was filmed in a real supermarket.
Yeah, I really did. I'm the same. Especially that reaction, yeah. And the other guy laughing, which I'll talk about in a minute. So then Lennox puts the frozen peas down his top and quickly takes them out again. So we get all these like wonderful little sequences here all put together. Then he headbutts a can over the aisle. And there is another reaction from a man behind him when he puts the long item, I'm not sure what it is, like what, bread, crackers?
Spaghetti.
Oh, is it spaghetti? God, you see, I've never bought spaghetti that big. I always buy the little half like ones. So he puts that into his jacket. And the smile from the guy standing directly behind him also looks really authentic because he kind of laughs, which again is what a lot of people would do if they saw something like this, especially the way that Lennox is stealing. It's just so funny and obvious.
And brazen, yeah.
Yeah, so that's very funny. And then he finally goes over to the counter to order some fags and leaves the store. And outside, he's apprehended by Tom.
Get back in there, you're nicked.
And we get some funny dialogue when he's being dragged back through the supermarket.
Listen to me, man. The other day I went into Woolworths. When I got home, I had a pair of binoculars, 12 packs of strepsils, and a roof rack for a Cortina. Please don't take me up to the office. No, not up to the office.
So I just want to say this was done extremely publicly. This is talking about the plan that they have. I know that technically we don't know it yet, but this was done so publicly. And I can understand that from Tom's point of view because he wanted witnesses that maybe someone was apprehended so they could be like, oh yeah, that guy that was taken in earlier must be the one who stole the money. But why would Lennox agree to that? Because everyone would see Lennox and everyone would be like, oh, Lennox, I'll identify him. Like, I remember that guy because everything he does is so memorable. And then that being said, wouldn't the other staff, like surely if Tom is the head of security, that implies that he has a team of security. Wouldn't they be very suspicious that they had 3 apprehended shoplifters earlier on in the day and a very loud and blatant shoplifter, and none of them had left the store and no one had called the police about them since they were apprehended?
I mean, there's a lot of plot holes in this for that reason. Like, yeah, unfortunately there is. But I think it's because we're overthinking it because, like John Sullivan said he had to get himself into the office, and that was like the thing that gave him the idea for the episode is that the guy deliberately got himself in the office. So he really had fun with that, and I don't think he thought that much about it. But you're right, like if the crime had gone ahead, the 60 grand was stolen and Lennox had gotten away, you've got an entire supermarket and an entire staff who can be like, yeah, it's that guy. Yeah. So it wasn't a very bright idea, but
no, Lennox would have been gone to prison. And then, of course, as soon as we see from Lennox's personality later, the moment he was put under any pressure and he was apprehended, he'd have given up Tom and the manager straight away. So,
but then later we find out that they were all not very good at this crime thing.
That's
so
true.
It kind of it makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah.
That it's terrible, a really rubbish plan. Yes. Any other notes on that scene?
I got quite a bit for this scene. So it actually said in the script, just to go back to what we said before, the clock on the wall says 6 o'clock and Lennox Gilby enters. He is black, 20 years old, and is charming and confident. He smiles and greets total strangers who ignore him. So that was what it says in the script. So it says 6 o'clock, so they did that right. I noted here, Vass Blackwood was 26 when he filmed this. So following this appearance on Only Fools and Horses, Blackwood went on to star in many more TV shows, including The Lenny Henry Show, a show called Spats that was on in the early 90s. But he also appeared in many movies such as Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels and Mean Machine. So he's had a pretty good career since, and he's still active now doing a lot of stuff and voiceovers. So he describes how he was cast in Lovely Jubbly book. He said he was invited down to Television Centre to meet Ray Butt. He got to read the script and it was all handled kind of quickly. I mean, we've heard this about a lot of the cast members, haven't we? How rushed the casting process seemed. But he says he didn't even sit down with Butt or anything. He just kind of walked him out the building, and Butt said he would reach out to his agent. He describes Ray Butt as being a short, pacey guy with a flat cap, kind of like Del Boy. And I've always thought that when I've seen pictures of Ray Butt, that he does actually kind of look like Del. But we know that he was a big inspiration in the early creation of the character. So not an inspiration for the character of Del, but they both were from the same area and had that background, so it does make sense that he's similar to Del Boy. Yeah, there is a small goof here, which you'll see every time you look it up online, that people always point this out. The scene where he picks up the beer can, you can already see the spaghetti packet sticking out of his bag, his coat, but he hasn't picked that up yet. So it's just out of sequence, that's all. So they put it in the wrong order. And apparently the opening of the can of beer was Vass Blackwood's idea, as well as the frozen peas. So I just noted here that I remember that we loved this scene so much when we were kids.
Yeah.
Just the scene with the goofing around in the supermarket, because it's like relatable and like we could go to the supermarket and see all the things that he messed with. And I really loved going shopping when I was a kid. I just loved going to the supermarket. So I found this so hilarious to watch when I was a kid. And I think it's really well done. Like you said, all the facial expressions, all the little actions and stuff. I think it's perfect.
So we're back up in the office and we open with a great line.
It's a very nasty habit you got there, you know. You could lose your teeth doing that.
How would you know that?
Because I'm going to ram my fist right down your throat.
I just think that's really funny because, again, that aggression from Del, it's so on point for his character. He's just so good at sort of flipping to this quite menacing character.
Yeah.
And I'm still wondering why the girl at the checkout hasn't been asked, that's what I said, to recognise the Trotters. It bugs me. And Tom brings Lennox into the office, and Lennox pulls out a gun.
Open up the safe!
Which gets a huge laugh.
Yeah.
Likely because of their mutual reaction. I think it's because when they all put their arms up, they put them straight in the air.
Yeah.
They don't sort of put them at half mast, because most people, when you say put your hands up, you sort of leave your hands around your head. But they all put their hands like right up, like their elbows are next to their head.
And Rodney's
which is
holding the
quite funny.
shopping in the air, which is really funny.
So yeah, I think that's the reason that people laugh, because obviously it's in itself, if this were a real situation, that's not funny at all. But
They
yeah,
probably knew it was
obviously
a comedy, and it's fine. I mean, they did know it was a
Yeah, but-
comedy.
They, of course, they know. But I mean, like, what I'm saying is that I think the reason that it does hit like really funny is because of the way they all put their hands up in the air at the same time and the way they put them up. So Lennox makes Del stand with Rodney and Albert, and he thinks he recognizes Del, which will become important later. Lennox says that the Trotters can relax while still pointing the gun at the other two men. And we find out that Lennox's watch doesn't work well when he says,
Bloody watch! It's always going wrong. My mum only bought it for me a month ago down the market.
and immediately Del, Albert and Rodney assume it's one of Del's watches because they all have this little sort of conversation, again, physical comedy between the three of them where they're like,
Yeah.
like we don't really hear what they're saying, but we know what they're talking about. The bloody watch line has become something of a catchphrase for Only Fools fans. I mean, I think it's only said twice in this episode, and it's only ever said in this episode. But
No, it's in Hollenbach.
Oh, right, sorry.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is the episode that people remember it from, like the bloody
Right.
watch thing.
Which is funny because it was said first in to Hollenbach, like before
Yeah,
this.
true.
I never clocked that. See what I did there? Before.
Huh.
The Abdul says it into Hollenbach first before this episode,
Yes,
but
he does.
you're right.
Yeah,
It's known.
sorry, I remember.
It's known as a shadow line, and you're right. It's only
Yeah.
said a couple of times in the episode, but it's so memorable.
Iconic.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's something about it. Yeah, I don't know if it's because the way he says it. It's so
Yeah.
good. Yeah. So yeah, that's wonderful. That sort of stuck. It's like, straight away and on a running joke, even though it never runs again. And then the manager says he can't open the safe because
You see, it's fitted with a time lock which comes into operation at 6 o'clock.
Lennox is 15 minutes late because of Del's watch. So Albert suggests,
Can't you come back first thing in the morning? No, I can't.
I have got other things to do, you know.
I was going to say, and Lennox's reaction to that is not like, don't be stupid. He's like, I've got other things to do. So it's just very funny.
Just come back for
And,
60 grand in the
Yeah,
morning.
exactly. It's just, but then technically that's not really that different to what Lennox does end up doing anyway.
No.
So Lennox looks like he's about to leave, and then he turns back and says,
We'll have to wait.
until 8 a.m. And Del does some pretty quick maths here.
Well, it's 14 hours, isn't it?
Then we find out that there is £60,000 in the safe. And for some reason, the manager confirms that that is correct, which would immediately make me suspicious. Because if the thief said there's 60 grand in that, I'd be like, no, there isn't. You've got it wrong. Like, you need to leave. You can't open it till tomorrow morning anyway, but there's only like £1,000 in it, so you might as well leave. Like, it's ridiculous that he goes, I'm afraid not. Friday is our busiest day. Like, it doesn't make sense that he would confirm it. So obviously this is a hint that he's in on it somehow. And as Lennox orders them all to sit down, my first thought was about toilet breaks.
Yeah, they don't go, do
Surely
they?
they would all need to go to the loo at some point in the 14 hours. And bear in mind, the Trotters, the manager, they've been in there probably for at least a couple of hours already, likely without a toilet break. So that's a long time to go without the toilet for all of them.
I think
So,
that's
yeah, that's something.
that is deliberately
you kind of-
ignored because that would be
Yeah.
a big problem. They would basically, if it were reality and he really didn't want them to escape, he would have made them all piss in the room.
Which would have been horrendous for
Yeah.
a comedy. Yeah, I completely understand. So, but yes, of course, that is also a little bit of a nitpick on my part.
when
so.
they say, when he says my mom only bought it for me a month ago down the market, and they do that little bit of whispering, the laughter from the audience is so loud that it drowns out the manager's line that I've never heard, which he says, I didn't realize it was that late. I won't be able to open the safe. I always just heard him say, I won't be able to open
I
the
won't
safe.
be able to open the safe. Yeah, me too. I never heard that.
So the audience laughter is drowning out the line. He says, I didn't realize it was that late. So that's the reason that they try still, because like I always thought that, like, he knows the timer comes into effect at 6 o'clock, but he still goes to the safe and tries to open it. And then he's like, excuse me, I can't open the safe.
Yeah, I thought that was just him like trying to like, deflect from Lennox. But yeah, of course that.
But then he
makes
says
sense
he
now.
doesn't realise it was that late, and that's when we get, but we don't hear that line because it's drowned out. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, so croupier, that Del says that he has a date with that croupier bird. So croupier is somebody who's in charge of a gaming table in the casino, and he does mention the 111 Club, right? He doesn't mention the 111 Club directly here, but is it the first time he sort of mentions casinos? Because we know casinos are a huge part of Del's future. He doesn't really talk much about the casino.
No, he doesn't. Not until later episodes, you're right, like later seasons.
Does he say the
Later
111
series,
Club
so.
here? I can't remember.
I had a date tonight too with that croupier bird from the 111 Club.
So this is the first mention of the 111 Club, and that's where he goes and where he meets Arnie and stuff, isn't it, in Chain Gang?
Yes.
Yeah, so they mention that.
So we cut to later that night, and everyone seems to be dozing apart from Rodney and Albert. And he wakes up Del to ask for fags. So Rodney is trying to quit smoking, as we found out earlier, and he's asking Del for cigarettes. The Trotters have a very quiet conversation about Lennox.
He's more frightened than us.
Oh, bless him.
I love how sarcastic Rodney is. I love Rodney when he's sarcastic. One of my favourite traits of Rodney. Del wants to put the lights on, and Lennox gives orders to
Switch that light on, then pull them blinds down.
And I don't know why Del tells him it's the wrong way around, because surely they would want people to see the light. Like, why didn't Del go, yeah, that's right, switch the light on, then close the blinds? Like, I know that the managers wouldn't have like the security and the manager wouldn't want that, but Del Rodney are the ones who were like, no. What you want to do is like, they should have let Lennox go ahead and do it the wrong way around.
I think it's quite important, actually, that little moment, because it shows that because Del himself is a criminal and I hate saying it like that, but it is true. He knows how to get around rules and, hide from the law. He's helping Lennox because he genuinely does not care if Lennox robs the supermarket. He doesn't need Lennox to get caught. He just wants to get out of there. So he's trying to keep him sweet. And he would rather just deal with it and let Lennox get away. And he's trying to sort of give Lennox kind of a mentor, kind of almost, like somebody that he can trust. He's putting that idea in his head, I think. That's all.
I never thought of it that way. I would have thought that like Del would have wanted to get out of there regardless of the situation. I mean, this is a much bigger crime than anything Del has done.
Yeah, but he sees Lennox, like he said, he's just a kid. He's scared. I don't think he wants him to get caught, because I think he probably empathizes
he does mention
with
that
him.
a few times.
Like, he just wants Lennox to get what he needs. I mean, Lennox will probably be his own downfall in the long run, and I think Del knows that, but he doesn't want him to be the reason. I think he wouldn't look at that and be like, oh, this is a great opportunity for them to find us in here, because then poor Lennox would get arrested and he'd be screwed, wouldn't he? Even though he didn't actually do anything in the end, he didn't actually steal anything.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, yeah, he wouldn't have. I mean, the gun is the thing. If it had been real, the gun is the thing that would have got him in trouble in this situation. Yeah. Okay. Well, now Lennox, for some reason, decides to tell his victims what the police call him.
Yeah.
So again, so ridiculous. But here we go.
I'm known as the Shadow because I'm fast and fleeting. I come and I go and no one knows.
Come and go, dude. It's going to take you 14 bleeding hours to come and go in here.
Known epidemics come and go quicker than you.
So we've got a couple of great lines there from Albert. Albert's getting all the one-liners again here. So we get a very famous poem now, I said, although it's song lyrics, isn't it?
They seek him here, they seek him there. Those policemen seek him everywhere. Is he in heaven or is he in hell? That damn elusive shadow.
So in Lovely Jubbly, Vass Blackwood is quoted as saying that Nick Lyndhurst suggested that he say shadow like that to match the Pimpernel in the line. After he heard him rehearsing lines with the Mandy Fletcher, he went and suggested that he do it shadow. And he said that Nick winked at him after he read the line that way. So you can credit Nick Lyndhurst for that. That's a famous quote from this episode. Yeah, everybody loves
totally.
it. Totally.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't know the original where it's from. Obviously, I find it funny in its own right, but I know it's plagiarizing something else, but I don't know what it was or what it is that it's plagiarizing.
Yeah.
The phone rings and Lennox wants to know who it is.
Well, it's a little difficult to tell at this stage.
I don't know why, but that line I just find really funny.
I don't know why that makes me laugh so much either. I think that's a thing from us being kids. Yeah. I used to love
it
that.
is funny though.
I know it's the phone, but who is
well.
it? Well, it's not difficult to tell.
A little difficult to tell.
It's the way he's looking at the phone, I think.
Yes, it is. It's everything together. It's like have you had him long? Or has he always been that length? Like, it's just stupid little things like that, but they make me laugh so much. I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
Lennox is told the manager's wife has onchocercia and he mistakes it for an illness, which is funny because I think I would have done that too. And we find out it's the security staff shutting up and switching the alarm system on. And again, why wouldn't they check on the manager's office to see, what happened after all the commotion earlier in the day? And how can the head of security and the manager leave when the alarm is on? Because surely any movement downstairs, opening doors and things to leave, it would set the alarm off, would it not?
Again, I don't know. This is just a weird little things that we have to just skate over for this to work. It's quite possible that the upstairs offices or the back offices have a different security system to the retail part of the store. So
maybe. Yeah, that's true. But then the safe is in the office, so that would be something that would need to be protected by an alarm, I would have thought.
Also, managers work at the night sometimes, so I don't know. The head of security says it's okay.
So Lennox looks out the window to make sure everything's okay, and Albert uses this moment to plot with Del and Rodney a way that they can get out of this situation.
One of us has got to create a distraction so that the other two can grapple with him and disarm him.
Now we get one of the most famous moments from this episode, and I think one of the most famous and funny Albert moments, where Albert fakes a heart attack and no one reacts. It's just brilliant, the fact that nobody cares. Not a single one of them is fooled. And then Albert slowly stands back up, not saying anything, and goes sits in his seat, dejected. And the scene ends with Rodney asking,
You got any tobacco on you?
I wrote here because I think, doesn't Del say the police are looking for the shadow, aren't they? And he says they'll never catch him. And he says, I bet Hank Marvin's had a go though, hasn't he?
Yeah, I don't know anything about that line. Yeah,
Hank Marvin. I know that people say they're Hank Marvin when they're starving, because I've heard that reference, but in this case, I think it's because Hank Marvin was the lead guitarist for the Shadows, the band. That's why that line.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's why he says that.
That makes sense, because he does do a little guitar thing with his hands after he says it. So yeah, that makes sense.
But I like that that wasn't the main point of mentioning this. It's the fact that they laugh together about it. So you can see Lennox and Del have a funny kind of light-hearted connection. He's on Lennox's side. So Del isn't trying to be a dick to him. He's having a joke about the Shadow nickname and stuff. And just the way that Lennox laughs after he says that shows that Lennox is actually a good guy, I think. And not really,
that's really interesting.
And not a right hard nut like he's trying to portray himself as being.
I think we all know he's not.
So,
I mean, you can tell he's a bit of a softie just from his demeanour. You can tell it's not natural to him to be a hard guy.
No, he's putting it on. Yeah, especially when he's he changes to that mean voice where he's like, oh yeah, with the lights. Then he's like, I want you to pull up on the satellite. And he's like, okay, yes, I got it. And then the I'm sorry to hear that line is absolutely hilarious. It's not on Chocorioca. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. I love that line.
So now we go to the next morning. So this is the final scene, but it's a long one. So Lennox is sleeping on the desk. The manager and Tom are asleep at the other desk, and the Trotters are sleeping in the area around the chairs where they've been sitting for most of the episode. And Rodney's using loo roll for a pillow. And for some reason, the image of this is always stuck in my mind from when I was a kid, sleeping using loo roll as the pillow.
Yeah.
Because I just thought that was really cool for some reason. I think because I was a kid, I was like, wow, loo roll pillow.
You should really get out more.
I know. I mean, I would have only been about 7 years old when I first saw this episode.
Yeah, we were both really young.
I was very young. So yeah, things like that were cool when I was 6-7 years old. So we hear car door slamming, and luckily it wakes up everyone except for Lennox. How convenient. And they aren't even trying to keep their voices down when they talk to each other either. They're talking at full volume, and Lennox is sleeping through all of it. So we find out that it's now 7:30 a.m. and the staff are arriving. And I won't nitpick the plan here because Del is about to do that for me later on, so I'll just be quiet. So Tom starts telling them about his time in Kenya.
What, you've got a branch out there?
And Tom asks Albert about his medals and ribbons, and we get a during the war without him saying during the war.
Yeah, he doesn't say it
here.
yet. Yeah, I noted that he still hasn't said it as an introduction to talking about war.
Yeah, so I'm waiting for that. I'm sure it'll happen soon. And he says,
Sharks, don't talk to me about sharks. I seen them. Monsters they were.
Yeah, he thinks that Jaws was a stickleback.
now we get the other most famous moment, I think, of this episode, where Rodney slowly starts to approach the desk where Lennox is sleeping. And everybody thinks he's going to try and take the gun from Lennox, only for it to be revealed right at the end that it's the cigarettes that he wants. And when I was a kid, I don't think I really understood this.
But no.
Because I don't think I really knew what cigarettes were, to be honest, because none of our family smoked, except for Nanny Sylvie. And I don't think I didn't remember it much. So,
I didn't understand
know what
the
he was
addiction.
taking.
Yeah, I guess I understood that cigarettes were a thing, but I didn't understand that you were addicted necessarily to nicotine, so you would choose to grab the cigarettes over the gun in this case.
Over the gun, yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
think
it's still
I
pretty
got it.
stupid, to grab that over the gun anyway, to be honest, in this situation, if
Yeah.
you really wanted to get away. But we get a great plonker here straight
Yeah.
after.
You pelonka! What are you doing?
Nothing, I just fancied a fag, that's all.
Well, why didn't you ask me? There's no need to steal.
Excellent irony in that sentence, which is shown on Nick Lyndhurst's face when he sort of looks confused when Lennox says that. And with Lennox awake, he checks his watch.
4:15.
It's 7:30.
Bloody watch.
So we get our second bloody watch joke of the only two, and there we go. A legend is born. Del makes another joke, and then Lennox suddenly realises who he is.
Tell.
Yeah.
No. Del Trotter, right? Don't you recognise me? Do you remember Rosanna Gilby, West Indian lady? Lives down Clutter Road. Years ago. Used to come round on the weekly and that, selling shoes, Del.
Yes, I remember. And that was you?
Don't you remember her little boy?
A little... No, you're not. You're not little Lennox.
That's right, it's me, Lennox Gilby.
I love that Del thinks that he was trying to say he was the West Indian lady. Oh, that's
Yeah,
brilliant.
So funny.
So now Del and Lennox are very friendly and chatty, and it's like they've known each other because they do know each other for years, and they're having a good old catch up. And I wonder why at this point Tom and the manager didn't try and intervene in some way to stop them talking, because this would clearly have blown their plan apart, which it does. And I would have thought they would have tried to do something about this situation.
Yeah.
But what could they do? I don't
No.
know. But they didn't try and do anything, which I think is a bit unrealistic, considering how much money is at stake. And they've just spent all night there, so they obviously think the plan is still going ahead.
Right.
So Del starts to guilt trip Lennox here by using his religious mother to shame his actions. And Lennox tries some excuses.
Look, I haven't had a job right in 6 years.
Well, nor is Rodney.
I've got no future.
Nor is Rodney.
Look, I haven't done a day's work since I left school, Del.
It's a tough old world, Lennox. Tough world.
And I love that Rodney looks disappointed that he isn't as much of a failure as Lennox.
Yeah.
I think that's so funny. It's like, oh man, he's more of a failure than I am.
Well, I thought
I'm
he was
sad.
going to say that Rodney hasn't done a day's work, and then he was like looking mad at Del. That's what I always thought. So he's like angrily
Right.
looking at Del as if, are you going to say nor has Rodney done a day's work since he left school? That's what.
Oh
I
no,
always
he's
thought.
definitely looking sad. He looks like he's got a pout on him after he says it's a tough old world, Lennox, which is why I thought he meant like, oh, Rodney can't keep up with Lennox's loser streak. That's what I thought it was.
I thought he was just like mad at Del because he was going to say that Rodney hadn't done any work, because that's the sort of thing that Del would say. But,
Oh yeah, I totally read that a different way. Let's see, how do you read it? Let us know in the comments how you read that moment, because Jenny and I see that very differently.
Yeah.
So now Del does our job, my job, and points out all the faults with the plan.
20 minutes, Del. I'll be rich.
And in 30 minutes, you're going to be banged up. I'll tell you why, shall I? Let's just review the situation for a second, right? All the staff have arrived, right? They started to work out there. Now, you've got to walk through them, haven't you?
Yeah, you'd never reach your getaway car.
Getaway car.
So Del's sympathy proves too much for Lennox, and he exposes Tom and the manager's involvement in the plan.
He said I'll just walk out with the money.
And you could have if you'd been here at 5 o'clock as arranged.
And the manager tells them,
I have a wife whose hobby is spending.
and we find out his motivation is all about the money. And we also find out that Tom's motivation is about the money. Surprise, surprise, all the motivation is about the money. So we find out how they met and that Tom was the one who provided Lennox with the gun.
Chambussy Nouvelle. Oh, dear. Would you, Adam and Eve, eh? Dixon of Kuala Lumpur is involved.
Now, this line, I didn't understand a word of that when I was a kid, and I still found it really funny because of the way that David Jason says it.
Yes, me too. It's such a hard, line to get for anybody.
Yes.
I'm thinking of the people of America again. I'm like, they wouldn't understand a word of that line. So Chambussy Nouvelle, I have Chambussy is a French company that specializes in the production of yogurts and dairy, and there was a packet of yogurts that you could buy on the market called Chambussy Nouvelle. So that's where he gets that from. Obviously, Adam and Eve, it means
Would you believe it?
Yeah, would you believe it?
That I understand.
And so we'll go back to my very first note of the scene. So back to Tom's history with the Mau Mau.
Yeah.
So the Mau Mau were a resistance movement and military organisation officially known as the Kenya Land and Freedom Army that fought against the British colonial rule in Kenya between 1952 and 1960. So he was in Kuala Lumpur, right? So he was out there in Kuala Lumpur. Clark mentions he was a military policeman in Malaysia, which later prompts Del Boy to mockingly refer to him as Dixon of Kuala Lumpur. So the Dixon is the concept of lineage and family ties. So if you call somebody Dixon of, it means that you have lineage of that. So that's Malaysia, not Kenya. I got a little confused there, but so he's talking about Malaysia when he said he was in Malaysia.
Yeah.
So when he calls him Dixon of Kuala Lumpur, he's referring to that. So you've got, 3 references there that need explaining to most people.
Yeah, to most people. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think, I mean, I got that it was talking about he's travelled and he was in the police, the last line, but I didn't really understand that specific reference. And the first one, I wouldn't have a clue. Yeah, see, I've got Chambussy Nouvelle I wrote down because that's how little I know about it. So I mean, but isn't it crazy that line is something that I've remembered since I was a kid and I've never known what it meant and I've always found it funny just because of the way it's delivered. And that's credit to David Jason.
Yeah, definitely. Me too.
It's like speaking in a foreign language and still finding something funny. And that's that means you're putting the funnies across even without using the language. So that's brilliant. That's why everyone in Hong Kong loves Mr. Bean, because he doesn't speak. So it's like universal comedy.
Yeah.
So he tells them that he got involved because the company was giving him a bad pension. This is Tom.
I was going to get less than Duncan Goodhue's barber.
Now, that is one of the very few sporting references I actually understood, even as a kid, because I knew who Duncan Goodhue was, because he was in an episode of Sooty, and he's bald. Right. I remember this. So for those of you that don't know, I'm sure most people do, he's a swimmer, Duncan Goodhue.
Yeah, and he's bald. So that is
he's bald.
I wrote here that
that
was the topical reference.
Yes, that's one of the only topical references I get from the entire run of Only Fools and Horses.
But again, if you didn't know who Duncan Goodhue was, that joke wouldn't make sense. So again, it's another thing that no one from that country or maybe that generation would know. And yes, he was in Sooty, so we knew he was bald because the episode of Sooty focuses on his bald head, right? It's the hair loss episode.
The hair loss episode.
But I don't think many... I mean, I'm guessing most British people know who Duncan Goodhue is. But I don't know. We've had to look up all the other sports people. This is one of the only sports people.
That's what I'm saying. This is the only one I know of all the ones we've had so far. So that's not great for me. They explain that the Trotters are there to be independent witnesses, so they were more likely to get away with the crime.
Oh, I see. So that is why you pulled us in. 14 hours just to provide you with an alibi.
And we find out that the gun is a toy, and Del takes control of the whole situation here, and he uses his hold over the manager and Tom to get Lennox a job.
I mean, what do you prefer? Young Lennox or old Bill?
I love that play on words. I think that's very cool. And Rodney laments that the shopping will have to...
They go straight in the fridge when we get home.
I mean, surely they would have been allowed to get new shopping as part of the deal for not telling the police about the scheme. Surely they would have,
really
right?
funny, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I love that they just assume that they'll have to just keep the shopping that they already purchased. It'll all be ruined. And they'd have eaten some of it, I would have thought, as well, being in there all that time.
Yeah, they did.
So the episode ends on a very high note. And it's Del finding the perfect way to blackmail the store manager.
Listen here, Mr. Peterson, I'm coming back to your shop this afternoon.
Why?
Because I've got this funny feeling that I am going to be your millionth customer. What do you think?
I have exactly the same feeling.
You know it makes sense, don't you? Bonjour.
So this episode is etched in my brain. I could probably recite most of the episode from memory, to be honest, because as Jenny mentioned at the beginning, it's one that I've seen so many times. And I said I must have been 6 or 7 the first time I watched it, and I've been watching it ever since. But the ending is great, and it wraps up everything really nicely. You know, there's no sort of loose ends at the end of this episode, and everyone kind of gets what they want, except maybe the store manager. And the head of security.
Right.
But
yeah.
all the people that matter get what they want.
I wrote that too. I wrote perfect ending, 5 stars. And I think it's it's easier to write a perfect ending if you've only got one scene and one plot. And he knows he's wrapped it up nicely. He's given everybody the ending that they, you know, needed. And then he's given the Trotters the win in the end, which is really good. But, you know, that's a really important thing. And that's why this episode rates so highly for me, because it's a really good episode to show the character of Del, because, like I say, we get all these reminders throughout that Del obviously is a dodgy market trader. He's selling things that he shouldn't be, like things that aren't working properly. He's been doing it for years. Like we see that. We see his history in this episode too. But he comes around and helps somebody like Lennox, who is just a good kid who just got wrapped up in you know, having no job and having no prospects, and he's trying to turn to crime to help himself out of a bad situation. But Del saves him, and not only does he save him, but he sympathizes with him and he helps him and he gives him advice and he gets him a job. So like, I've always liked that, because I see that it's a really good example of Del's character, and he's being the parent figure again, which is what he does to Rodney. And he becomes the voice of reason, and he gets through to him.
You're right. And the only people that Del is scheming against here at the end are people that kind of deserve it, because they were willing to screw Lennox over to get what they wanted. Because they know that Lennox would have been the one who went down for this crime if it had ever come out. And even if Lennox had sort of, you know, blamed them and given them up to the police, they probably would have just denied it. Similar to like Abdul and Boise into Hullenbach. You know, they'd have been like, it wasn't us, it was them 3, like, you know, that kind of thing. And it all would have gone on Lennox. And you're right, Lennox was the young one who was kind of coaxed into doing this by the 2 older men who wanted money, and they weren't brave enough to steal it themselves.
Yeah, and I don't know if the issue of race should come up at all, but a young black kid with the gun, he's going to be the one that goes down for it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they get nothing out of this, except they get away with the plan. They're not going to make any money, but they're not going to jail. Lennox gets a job, so at least something good comes for him.
Yeah, you're right. It's a nice ending for the 4 people in that room that deserved a nice ending. So do you have any other notes?
Yeah, you mentioned this, but Albert tells war stories without saying during the war at this point. And I didn't notice that. So yeah, again, we need to figure out, when does he first say during the war? So people online mention that if you listen, you can hear the audience saying cigarettes, cigarettes when Rodney's reaching for the gun. And that's correct. You can, but you do have to listen carefully, or maybe turn your headphones up. I had to turn mine up, but you can hear it. It's whispered. But just as his hand is going for the gun, you can hear people whispering cigarettes. So some people had clocked that was the punch.
So if that's everything, shall we move on to our awards segment?
What are you on about? I won!
So as always, we have 3 awards to announce this week. And we will start with Plonker of the Week.
Und Plonker, yeah?
So for Plonker of the Week, we will each nominate a Plonker, and we will discuss and decide who wins. So, dude, who's your nomination for Plonker of the Week?
Honestly, there were quite a few plonkerish moments in this one from all of the different characters, depending on which moment you look at. And you're not going to like this, but I guess I have to go with Lennox a little bit here, because Lennox messed up the time, and then he told them to stay all night.
But that's Del's fault, though.
Why is that Del's fault?
Because the bloody watch.
The watch.
Yeah,
but even so, like, that can't be the only place he could have told the time. And this is such an important, like, time frame that they were looking at here to steal the money. Like, you would have thought he would have relied on some, you know, he would have double checked the time. Yeah, like, also them staying all night was not a good idea. And that was purely Lennox in the moment. I mean, he probably panicked, but even so, that's a pretty plonkerish thing to do, because obviously he was never going to be able to get away with it if they stayed till the morning. And also revealing his identity to Del so easily, also not a very smart thing to do. So I'm not having a go at Lennox for being a plonker here, because he's young and foolish and he got coaxed into this. But I think out of everyone in that room, I think Lennox is the biggest plonker, just for some of those choices he made that were a bit foolish. Yeah.
Well, I wrote Mr. Peterson as the plonker, probably because, like, if you listen to their backstory about how they came up with the plan, he's the one that is probably got, to me, the dumbest reason to be in the situation he's in.
He's not standing up to his wife.
And because he's like, why is he there? Like, dealing with financial things that she signed. That wouldn't make sense. I mean, I guess maybe he was a guarantor or something on her purchase.
Yeah, it's a husband-wife thing.
But either
right?
way, this is like a really stupid reason to make a kid commit a crime. I mean, yes, you could basically say that they all kind of agreed and they knew the risks, but he's an adult. And I mean, I think Tom as well, because it's a silly reason to rob a supermarket just because your retirement's not going to be enough money. I mean, money makes people do stupid things.
It does.
I feel like out of all of them, those two older guys are more responsible for saying that this was a bad idea than Lennox.
Yeah, I mean, responsible for the whole concept of the idea. Yes, I'm just talking about in this episode, the decisions that are made in this episode. I think Lennox makes foolish decisions in this episode more than they do, because the plan's already been hatched before the episode starts. That's why I think Lennox. Because, yeah, I mean, the biggest one is revealing his identity to the witnesses. I mean, however you put that was going to put his head in a noose.
Yeah, I mean, he did do some plonkers things. I mean, I guess all three of them really are plonkers.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's, yeah, so, but we have to give it to one, so should we let our punters decide?
Everyone's going to have their own opinion. Yeah, it's fine if you want to give it to Lennox. I understand he did make some stupid decisions, but he does redeem himself at the end. So if we could give him plonker, but also with the notion that he is working on the right path to improve himself. The other two guys don't.
Well, he's got a chance to, at least. Yeah. The other two are probably a bit too far gone. So.
All right.
Although nothing got stolen, no one has been hurt, nothing has been nicked, so we don't need to worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll give it to Lennox. Lennox is the plonker of the week.
No. I have this problem, you see. Memory blanks.
Okay, so this week, Heather will award the best line of the episode and I'll award best moments. What have you chosen for best line of the episode?
Okay, I have 4 that I want to mention, so maybe you can help me to choose. So first one is, I've known epidemics come and go quicker than you. That's one of them. The second one is, of course, bloody watch, just because it's so iconic to the episode. I love, as you do, it's a little difficult to tell at this stage. And also another famous one is the 14 hours. So honestly, I don't know. Did I miss any that you think are good?
I mean, the shut a dough line is very famous.
Oh yeah, shut a dough. Yeah, that's true. I didn't even put that down. Yeah, that's true. My personal favourite one is the one that no one else would choose. Yeah. It's the same as that. Have you had him long? It's a little difficult to tell at this stage.
That's a delivery thing, isn't it? I mean, the line itself is not funny, but the delivery is funny.
The delivery is funny. It's really silly, but I love that line. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you choose your favourite line. Everybody is welcome to put their favourites in the comments. It's the same with every line we pick. We're not saying it's the best line. I guess we shouldn't say best line. We're just saying what's your favourite line this week.
Yeah. My favourite line is this.
And everybody... put their favorites in the comments because we really want to hear what everyone's favorites are. Sometimes I really struggle when I'm doing my awards because I've written so much down and I'm like, oh my God, like how am I supposed to choose a good line? And I think moment is easier, honestly.
It's true because at least you're able to sort of include loads of different things when you choose a moment. A line is just a singular thing, so it's harder.
I was going to say lines like the one you're going to give it to don't really make sense out of context, but it's fine. You give it to whatever you want to give it to.
Okay, I'm going to be totally selfish this week and I'm going to give it to, it's a little difficult to tell at this stage, as the best line of the episode. Best delivery of a line. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, dude. And you've chosen the best moment. So what have you put as the best moment for this episode?
Yeah, I wrote the moment where he goes to reach the gun and he picks up the cigarettes. I think, again, I'm picking based on what I think is most famously known for, but it is the highlight of the episode for a lot of people. There's also Albert's heart attack, but I think some people don't like that from what I'm reading online, that Buster Merrifield was a lot different to Leonard Pierce in the way that he acted and stuff, and some people think Buster Merrifield's over the top. And I think if you watch
That's what makes him great.
I was going to say, if you watch this episode, he is over the top, but that is his character. Albert's character is over the top. Whereas Grandad's wasn't really.
I was going to say that's part of his charm, that he does things over the top. When he's acting, he acts over the top, but in real life, he isn't over the top. So it's the same with the back problems bit when he comes in and does it in the market. Yeah. He does everything like acting over the top. Yeah. But then everything else is normal. Yeah, that's what's funny.
I mean, I loved it as a kid. I still love the face and everything.
Yeah. Totally.
But I'm going to give it to the grab of the cigarettes because I think that's the moment that is the best moment because of the tension built up and everything, everyone watching and the silence of the room, and then the moment where he just reaches and then that smile he has on his face when he holds the cigarettes up to everybody.
Yeah, and he kind of offers them to other people a little bit as well. Like, you going to have one as well? Yeah,
and Dal's reaction as well. So I think, that for me is definitely the best moment of the week.
I had one other honourable mention you didn't mention, which was Lennox stealing spree.
Yes, of course. So I thought that, but I think it's a little bit long to be considered a moment. But yes, I agree. It's a best scene, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Best sequence, I guess you'd call it, as a
Okay,
possibility.
so the third award is
And the fourth award is Heather's selfish pick for the best line of the episode.
We're going to do audience pick for best line. Is definitely not
We
going to be
should
Heather's
actually,
line.
because I think they're always going to be separate to mine.
You know what?
I'm very niche about
we
my
could
picks.
do, if enough people comment, we'll do in the series overview, we'll award audience favorite line or our listeners' favorite line, because I do think we're probably picking stuff that the people don't like. And we are conscious that we are missing out people's favorites, which is hard. It's going to get harder as the episodes get longer. So we're trying to mention everything. But if you have your favorite line, please put it in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if that's everything, then drink up, we're leaving.
So that about wraps it up for this week. Join us next week when we'll be discussing Series 5, Episode 4, Tea for 3. Until then.
Sunrise, come every morning.
Lighting up the ground all around.
Au revoir, listeners. If you like what you hear and want to contact us, you can email us at longlivehooky street podcast@gmail.com. All one word, no spaces. Bonjour.